break the chain.
Hey, Composing Gloves here, and today we're going to be talking about expansion. Now, there's a lot. Expansion's a pretty dense topic. We're going to be looking at what Maximus can do with expansion, and we're pretty much going to leave it there and just sort of give you a term to use. It's going to be a pretty quick tutorial, probably, because you've already watched all the previous ones. You know about your compression envelope, about this whole amplitude section, and how to read your meters. So all you need really now is just to know a couple things. So real quick, you can apply expansion. Expansion is simply how, you know, how a compressor, when you're going to compress something, you set a threshold and then you say once audio passes this point, literally that point, it will get softer. It will get not softer. It won't get loud as fast. It'll get louder, slower. Well, expansion is the other way around. It says, oh, once it passes this point, it's going to get louder, faster. It's going to get to 0 decibels before then. And now we set a limit so that it can't go past there. But if it could keep going, it would. So this would all be considered expansion. So let's, I have 3. Now we're going to look at this from a multiband perspective, of course. I have 4 sounds here. We're going to expand them and just show you some of the options you have. There's really not a whole lot to talk about. Other expanders have capabilities of downward expansion. You cannot do that with Maximus. So, yes, it's very, very simple. So let's play our first sound. It sounds like this. And now if we, let's say we want our bass out, we can expand it. So the bass will get louder much faster. And yeah, that's pretty much that. So you're going to hear a lot more bass. Using this to taste will be like, that's like a mixing tutorial type deal, but you could affect timbre qualities pretty substantially. You do stuff like this. So this part's left linear. Now it's important to keep in mind that this gate, the envelope that's generated, is controlled by these guys. So you can have extreme control over how your sound interacts with each individual band by altering these attack, sustain, and release options. You could also apply compression and also expansion on the same envelope. Which is, as we've talked about with the transient shaping options at near the beginning of this series, that is you have a lot of potential there to do things. And so that's some ways we can alter that. Let's take a look at this sound. It's a piano. So if we were to just expand it up a little bit. See, it sounds quite nice, opens it up. And now you are making it a lot louder, so you got to be careful about what you're doing here. If you do stuff like this, and usually a higher frequency stuff, stuff that's sensitive or will create sort of wobbly noises will exist down here. So for example, if we were to do this. So you get very different timbres. I encourage you to experiment, especially when sounds have long reverbs. That means as the reverb gets down here, it's going to get sucked up. It's going to keep getting pulled up. And so that could consume a lot of room in your mix. So you want to be careful. But if you're doing like solo piano, by all means, do some interesting things. Here we've got another sound. It's a string section. As you see, it totally does not work with the string section. You may consider doing some compression before. And see, we could change how the different parts hit the compressor, so we could alter our quality just as we need. So when it gets to the upper ends, we could have a little whum or whatever, you know. That sounds pretty unnatural, but maybe it's something that would be useful to you in a mix, or, you know, just some nice tricks. Maybe do a less extreme form of that. So, and our last sound here is, I believe it's a analog, not an analog, it's a digital bass sound. So let's do something like this. Now it's already really loud. I'm gonna pad it up, do stuff like this. And on this one, I'm going to have a little spot in the middle and leave those alone and like this. Do something like this. It's an interesting deal because it's got to go through here, but it doesn't stay there because this is the envelope. Really noticeable when we have stuff doing that though. So not necessarily, this move doesn't really mean anything. So let's go ahead and do something like this. We could apply compression first. So anyways, yeah, you just have options. Like, I encourage you to experiment. You know what this means now, so you can do a lot with that. This sound though, the high frequencies are always going to be like really interesting. You may not want that. As you heard, we're generating stuff near the end of our sound though. So this is stuff that as you experiment, you'll gain your own preferences on stuff you like to do. Like I will experiment with all kinds of expansion and I'll try different settings with sustain and release to get things to behave the way I want. Usually I don't have to get too crazy to get what I want, and then I can move on to something that does this a little more specifically, like a wave shaper or something that will probably that will behave the more of the what I'm looking for. But this is a great way to just shape general dynamic content as you go through here. So that's expansion. If you have any questions, let me know, subscribe, and have a blessed day. This is gonna bring out my upper end right here for sure.